talking to Drew Rogers.
What's up? Movie, if I had to pick, actually, I'd pick movie. Lunch, slacks.
Cheez-Its or Goldfish?
Goldfish, same uni days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think work with people you like to work with, and there's enough people out there that you can like working with everyone. Hat, 100%. Gotta prioritize the vibe, so I'd rather have it small.
Okay.
Dinner meeting.
Dinner meeting?
I mean, it depends on what we're meeting about, but like if I had to pick, dinner. That dude's always like chomping on one. Yeah. Yeah, massive. Always just like carrot in the side of his jaw.
Okay, yeah, thanks for being here. Drew, why don't we just let you go into it? Because one of my first questions was the Drew story. So could you,
Oh boy.
we're gonna put stuff up on screen, but could you give us a Cliff Notes story of you since like college, unless you think there's important things before that that have to do with like your career and current lifestyle?
Sure. I mean, we met in college, so I think that's where the story starts with us. Life has been, it's felt very accelerated since I graduated. So we met at college, we both went to Mizzou. College for me was a really very, very pivotal time in my life, especially as a creative person. I spent most of college, as you know, just building and starting things. And I had talked with enough people who had graduated. I had seen how massively shifted the landscape had become with education, where I knew that just going to college, getting a degree and walking out and not having done anything is like a recipe for failure. You actually, if you're going to college today, especially even now, it is really not about the degree you have, it's about what you do while you're there. I knew that going in, and so I looked at college as just a 4-year window of like, what can we create, what can we do? I gotta like pass my classes and get pretty good grades, but like, let's use this 4-year period as a launch pad for starting businesses and creating new ideas. And that's how I spent most of my time there. I think college was a really safe environment to do that sort of thing. There's a lot of people around you who have time on their hands to help you. The institution, for Mizzou, at least for us, was super supportive of a lot of things inherently. So college for me was, I think, a launch pad of like what it feels like to have a vision, execute on that vision, get people behind you. And then, yeah, a lot has happened since then, but college for me was a pretty impactful time.
If you could only have taken your degree with you or the experience you got from college, it sounds like you would choose the experience.
100%.
You were really good at finding what people were good at.
Yeah.
And like pairing people together and building something. Like do you still find yourself doing things like that?
Totally. It's a really, really fun position to be in. And the visual that I have for the role that I love to be in is that sort of conductor persona, where you're, recently in my life, like I've really gotten into the symphony. Like when I lived in Chattanooga, they had these live performances of where orchestra would just, I don't know, it was, in my mind, I thought it was amazing. Going there and sitting and seeing this, like dozens of people all play their own instruments, all doing that little role really well, and then that can like compile into this beautiful orchestrated single thing that you then hear as like a unified experience is, I loved going to those things. And I feel like for me, being in that position of that conductor of like, okay, what is Devin really good at? What instrument does he love? What is he uniquely into? How does that then fit into the overall composition of something, is a role that I love to be in, because I think I have a huge, deep passion for people getting the opportunity to work on what they feel created to do and where they come alive, and having a relationship with the work you do that feels exciting and compelling and passionate. And like, inherently that is a privilege. Not everyone wakes up every day and goes into their job and feels that way. But I really, really would love for more people in the world to have that feeling when they go into their workday, where they can like provide for their family, do what they love, and be able to play that instrument really well. Most people though don't understand how that orchestrates together and fits together. And so I love to be in that position of like finding what that instrument is for that person, but then also having the vision or leadership of like, how does that actually align with other instruments or other people? How do we mobilize this into a, clear offering for a client or a business or whatever? So that was what Relevant Youth was in college. It was just a huge unit of college students running around, essentially a creative agency, as you know, doing that. So
yeah, that's awesome. I love the symphony reference. I'm gonna use that and think about that now.
You should go to a symphony. It's
I do?
we should go together. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure St. Louis has one, but
Yeah,
haven't
St.
been
Louis
yet.
Symphony. Yeah, I love going to the symphony. It's like you kind of feel like reset the next
Yeah.
day after you've gone to an evening of symphony.
It's very peaceful.
Yeah, definitely. So I think as we've started our business, I try to be really open to accepting that not everything is going to go the way that I think it should go, especially when we're just, with what we do, it's so, I guess, like B2B. Like we work for other filmmakers usually, doing the audio for them, or we're helping build someone else's vision. So I've accepted, okay, I have to pivot sometimes, or sometimes maybe I'm not playing the instrument that I thought I was playing. And I have to trust that this director knows where to put me, what seat to put me in. How do you navigate that? Because I had to say no to people, not because I want to, but because I know that maybe I'm not the right person, but maybe that'll give me space to find the right thing, or give them space to find the right thing, and maybe they'll come back to me because they'll trust that that I am the right thing for something else. How do you navigate that for yourself as you choose who you are and what instrument you play?
Yeah, it's a great question. My mind immediately went to this. I don't know who the specific musician is. It was like, I think that famous cello player. I don't remember his name, but world-renowned violinist or woodwind player.
Is it Yo-Yo Ma?
Yeah, maybe it was Yo-Yo Ma, I don't know. But like, there was this video that came out last year of this person who, that evening, tens of thousands of people were showing up at like the biggest hall in New York to go see play, probably cleared 7 figures of revenue just like showing up that night. And there was a video of that same person earlier that day in the subway, playing for free. And it wasn't like that compelling. There weren't a lot of people around, but people weren't really paying any mind to him. And same instrument, same person, different setting. Like one, it's like, know the value, the talent you bring. Don't question like, oh, maybe I'm playing the wrong instrument. It's like, maybe you're just, like in that metaphor, the point is like, sometimes looking around at the reception means that you're in the wrong environment. Same exact deliverable, different environment. I think there's something to be said of just because the people around you aren't noticing, that doesn't mean that what you're creating is not valuable. A lot of creatives especially or people in business will easily pivot or quickly pivot, and they'll be like, oh, I really think I'm good at violin, but maybe to get this client happy or to win this next project, I'm gonna start playing trumpet or string bass or something. And like, that actually makes you not as valuable on the violin. And in my mind, in the world of like the internet, in the world of providing value, in the world of what you guys are doing, which inherently is pretty niche with audio, I think it's a very niche thing. There's definitely a place of like being the best at one little thing, especially now. And the internet economy is a very, very powerful position to be in. It's way less powerful to be like kind of okay at a few things. So in my mind, if I'm in a position where I feel like I'm having to, and I'm dealing with this right now in my business, where it's like, at what cost is appeasing a client when it actually dilutes the value you're bringing to the next one? I think the ones who are okay with denying business or sticking true and trusting their craft, like the person in the subway, not looking around for the validation, but knowing like, hey, I'm really good at this. Those are the people that I find are the most successful.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have any methods or just constants that you live by for how you deal with change or how you deal with things that are unexpected that might come your way?
I think I'm pretty comfortable with change in in the chaos of like running a business. My wife and I, after college, we moved 8 times in the course of like 3 or 4 years. We went from, we got married in college, lived together in college, and then, that was a massive shift for us. Then moved to San Francisco, bounced around a couple times there. COVID happened, we came home for a little bit, we went back out there. We moved to Chattanooga for a whole season of like what we thought was gonna be, us starting a business out there and doing some things, and then had a baby and came back. So it's just been, the last few years of my life have been pretty wild. And in that chapter, I was not running a business throughout that chapter. I was working for big financial technology companies. And even though now I'm in like month 3 of my own business, it's like, that is objectively very new, but it feels like the chaos and the movement and the shifts and like the constant change almost feels very normal and natural.
Almost fuels you.
I think you have to be okay to run a business that is new and young. You have to be okay with constantly going into things, not really knowing how they're going to turn out or exactly what it's going to look like or where it's going to go. Like half the calls I go into in my day, meetings I have no idea where it's going to go. I often don't even know why we're speaking to this person. It's just being open-handed and creative and constantly like juggling what this could be, because the road is so unclear that you have to be so open to what is around the corner. Like I'm very okay with the fact that today, after we wrap up here, I could have a call with the business that could radically change the course of where I spend my time. I got to be open to that. Some people that would make them go crazy. Like
Yes,
most people don't want that level of variability in their work.
Yeah, that's interesting that you bring that up. For me, I've done both as well, and we're in month 1, about to start month 2 of me being full-time here. So I recognize that I miss stability and like dependability a little bit of the 9 to 5, but it also fuels me that it's the same thing. Like we could have a call today that totally changes what our entire business looks like.
It's depressing for anyone who's listening to this who works a W-2 job or like a corporate setting. Like there's something incredibly depressing about, and I dealt with this, when you're in that environment and you begin to think ahead and you begin to like chart the course, and you're like, my performance review is like Q4 of this year, and maybe 11 months from now when I'm up for a promotion, then I'll get that, and then that'll put me in this level, and then 5 years later I'll be up for this. And it's like you start to think about your life in this like massive runway period where you almost like, people just turn on autopilot, I think. Where they're just like, okay, I'm just gonna like exist within this system, which, going back to college and the education system, I think we're very used to doing. Where we're just like, okay, I'm in this system, I'm gonna check out and just like ride the wave. It numbs people. And there are so many, especially adults and parents and people who are in that, like, they're just going through the motions of their work, and that pains me. There's definitely, like, there are people who need to pay their bills. Some people like that routine. My mom's a teacher. She's been a teacher for her whole career. She loves the consistency of that, of knowing like, hey, in 5 years, I'm gonna retire and this is how much I'm gonna get. And like, some people need that level of like certainty. That makes me wanna like cry. Just like the limitations of that, so.
I think me as well, probably just because I'm on this end of it, right? Like I'm young, I'm starting, but I try to do the thing where I try to look bigger than what I'm thinking right now. I'm trying to do better about that. I'm thinking in 5 years, will I not feel the same way? Will I kind of miss elements of it?
That's too far away, in my opinion.
Too far away.
I think 5, like, I'm really dealing with this right now because I am so focused on like the next week, the next 3 weeks. Like when people start, like 5 years from now, your life could be completely different. 10 years from now, oh my God, like there's so many variables there. I think people, there's this, what's the Bill Gates quote, or it's like people overestimate what they can do in 10 years they underestimate what they can do in one. There's something like that. I think for me, I'm probably too indexed on the what are we gonna do today, this week, this month, and I'm almost too in that vacuum where I'm not asking like, where do I wanna be in 12, 24 months? But there is something that is dangerous about looking too far ahead, potentially, because then you might be limiting yourself to what's actually possible. In my mind, that's what it feels like.
Sure.
The way this really comes to light is in a sales capacity. I've been doing sales my whole career. You have these goals, you have these quotas. It's like you have to hit this number this quarter or this year. And most people, in a human sense, they say, okay, this is the goal. I'm gonna work backward from that bigger goal. And then I'm gonna like align my activities to meet that goal. It's like very logical. In my mind, I'm not saying this is good advice for everyone, but in my mind, I'm like, what is possible today? Like, I don't care what the goal is, screw it. What can I get done right now, this day? And I actually don't even give a shit what the goal is, because all I know is what I'm capable of, and whatever the result of me giving everything I have is, that will be the best I have. So why do I even care what the goal is? Because the goal is giving the best you have. So I took that approach, and I did really well in that career because I wasn't defined by those goals. So I know that was a little bit of a rant, but
no, that's good. Would you suggest that to new business owners? Like, are you enjoying this so far? Is it working for you? Are you, like, if someone else, like, maybe not us because we've been doing it for a little bit, but if someone wanted to start a business in your industry right now, would you say that's how you do this?
It's so complex, and every use case is different. So blanketing like starting a business would be really hard. There are so many elements and so many nuances that go into why someone should or should not do this. It's not for everyone. There are a lot of people who try to do it who aren't probably ready, or I mean, no one's technically ready to start their own business, but I would say that there are things you can do before going all in that would really help set you up for success. And you know, I think I was faced with that decision when I was graduating college, actually. So going back to that place, I was running a pretty successful business, nonprofit business at that time. It was doing 6 figures of revenue. I was a student. My costs of that business were super low. I could probably have stayed in that position and made a pretty good salary and grown it and scaled it. But I knew that my perspective and skill set and exposure was so limited that I knew that I wanted to run a business. I was like, okay, I love this. The skill set that I'm using is really great. I feel like I'm doing what I was created to do when I was in that position. But I knew that there were some key things that needed to be developed, like business acumen, I think, for me to do that same thing 5 times better or 10 times better. And so I consciously made the decision to put myself in those positions. So like the next 5 or 6 years since then, I've been working in these incredibly amazing companies, these publicly traded firms who have thousands of employees, and seeing the way they operate, how they grew, their stories, the customers that are coming in, the systems they use, the softwares they adopt, how they run the business, all this stuff. Not only does it give you a ton of insight into the business, it also helped me, I think, clarify the passion and interest I had in a specific industry, being for me what is blockchain and on-chain payments, like crypto payments. That is now an incredibly emerging space, and I've spent the last 5 years completely immersed in it. And so now, because I have that subject matter expertise, I am now in this really great spot to start a business to serve that niche really well. If I didn't make that decision graduating from school to dive into this industry and like go really deep, I wouldn't have put myself in this position of insight and leverage. So, and that luckily really aligns with my natural interests, what I love to learn about, I think what I'm good at. And that is such a nuanced thing that is unique to my context that I think is unique to everyone. So there is that frame of reference, the ikigai, or a Japanese term of like the 3 Venn diagrams put together. I don't remember exactly what they all are, but it's like the harmony of what work should feel like, your interest, your passion, your skill set, something like that. That is different for everyone. And ideally, it should be, because we're all different. And that's what makes it really perfect and fun. Is like that 3 Venn diagram is completely unique to you and me and PJ and all these people we see. A lot of people don't know how to like identify what those things are.
6-figure business in college, was that the bridge?
That was Relevant Youth.
Relevant Youth made 6 figures?
For 1 year. We got it to that point, yeah.
If you don't mind me asking.
I mean, it's a nonprofit company, so I think everything's technically public, or should be. The business itself was an agency. We started, we were this really nimble student-run organization, essentially a marketing or creative agency. And what we realized was like, hey, the university itself sucks at marketing and creative and doing all this. And all of these different departments at the university are their own separate. They have their own separate budgets, their own separate teams, their own separate Instagram accounts. Like they're almost these little businesses in the university system. And so we realized, one, these people have pretty large budgets, and their internal staffing is really bad, and they want to present their schools and their like what they're doing within that school in a strong way. I think our biggest client junior or senior year when I was running the business were actually the university themselves. So the College of Engineering paid us a pretty big amount of money to like come in and like do a bunch of marketing and creative. I think the UM system directly paid us some money to do like marketing and things. We had a strategic relationship with Veterans United for talent acquisition, where they, donated to the business in return for doing some like strategic recruiting things. And I think the biggest, I think $25,000 the university, a certain school at the university paid us for like a semester of work, which is like, now in the real world of business, it's like, that's not the most money in the world. But as a student at that time, it was like, I remember holding a check for like $25,000. I was like, holy crap, like this is a huge deal. Yeah. And I think there was a ton of momentum and a ton of learning that season of life provided me that is now impacting my business today.
That must have been after I wasn't at Mizzou anymore. That's because I guess I wasn't always in the Relevant Youth thing anyway, but I guess I didn't know that was something that was going on in Relevant Youth. So, but that's super cool.
Because you were, it's funny because you were really, you helped with the podcast.
And then I was out of there.
And then you were out,
after.
yeah.
Yeah, I switched schools. So.
Full circle moment.
Bye, everybody. Yeah. Whoops. That's good. That's good to know and learn. Congratulations. That's a super cool way to start your career. And.
It sounds sexier than it really was. But
isn't that how most things are? There's a lot of hard work behind a lot of people making money. So.
Yeah, it's still going on too. Matchbook marketing is now what it's called. If you go, I'm not involved with it anymore, but there are still students going through that program. I think now at this point, thousands of students have gone through the system and like worked with hands-on clients, and it's cool to still see it operate similarly to what we were doing.
Maybe there's more to it, but I'm surprised they didn't keep the name Relevant Youth unless you took it with you. That was a cool name. Like that was perfect for college.
Yeah. There's some context there of like the transition and some things that I probably didn't do the best. We essentially tried to keep it going, and we had some full-time people that were actually involved with making that happen, and it didn't really work out. And 2 or 3 years after I left formally, there was this sort of handoff period of like, hey, this isn't ours anymore. like you guys deserve to make, the current students deserve, like make it your own thing. And part of that was, I think, rebranding it and making it sort of something that felt new and organic again. Because that's what was so exciting about it. Like when we started it, it was like, wow, this didn't exist before. Like this is our thing, and the momentum of that and the ownership that creates, I think was something that needed to happen again.
Let's pivot a little bit, because there's definitely some other questions I wanted to get into here. I think I like this one.
Good.
It's just a little different, but name 3 things you always make time for.
I mean, sadly, my coffee in the morning.
Gotta have that.
I think anytime I want to like change a habit, like spend more time with Jesus in the morning, or like habit stack, I'm like, okay, how can I orient this around my cup of coffee in the morning? Because always happens. I think I try to, every day when I get home from work, now especially, really try to engage with my kids. I have a baby girl and a young boy. Something lately that's been really powerful for me is consistent time with my friends. Just like as I've become later in my 20s and work is accelerating and family's growing, and like not just prioritize, like there's so many men especially who just go from like work to family to work to family, and they like live in this vacuum, and then they become completely isolated. They have no friends and they're all alone. Part of the reason we wanted to start this space was just to like give men a space to go, but consistent time with my friends and treating that as like an authority has been really big. Every Tuesday night, some really core friends of mine that I've grown up with, we every Tuesday always make time for each other. And then 2 days a week, my friend John and Anthony, John Potabom, who you know, and Anthony will have a morning call just to keep each other like in check and up to date. So those rhythms of like being in it with people is really important, because you can easily get like kind of isolated in your own bubble. So those are some things.
No, those are great ones. Definitely. I think especially that third one, I think we all are kind of at this age right now where we gotta make those habits now, or you start to drift apart from friends and people you love. And I'm trying to work through it too. The first thing you said was, it gave me like this weird, I don't know if it was a revelation or if it's like I needed the refresher and maybe I already knew this. When you said you like to latch
habit stack
on habit stack, like
yeah.
And I thought of that. Do you mean like, so you definitely are gonna have your cup of coffee in the morning?
Yeah.
So if you want to build another habit, you do that with your cup of coffee because you know that that's the cup of coffee.
Yeah, there's like a ton of studies around this. There's some like really cool books around habit formation, like The Power of Habit, and there's a whole category almost of books now about habits.
Yes.
It's a little oversaturated, but like, yeah, it's a simple idea of, hey, there is a habit that I have formed. I brush my teeth, I drink my coffee, I get into my car, whatever it is. Actually, another example is I want to be more prayerful. Like I want to be someone who's more engaged with prayer. And so I've tried to now, like when I walk from my car back there in the parking lot to the front door, I'm like, hey, I do that every day. If I can just like integrate a 30-second prayer every day to posture myself in the right way, just like I open that gate, I'm like, okay, boom, prayer time. It's like, there's something that it's easier to bake in habits if you stack them in and around. I'm not saying I'm the best at this, but it's nice when you want something like a coffee, and then you can abstain from that until you've done something else. That is a very effective way to like start new habits.
Cool. Yeah, you're right. There are a lot of books on habits, and yeah, it's definitely a hot topic, but maybe I need to get into one, because that...
What would be the thing that you're trying to form a bigger habit in?
I'm looking for consistency in my life, period, right now. I've a little bit of a workaholic, or maybe I'm just not good at organizing my own work, so I'll be a little bit like midnight and I'm still working on something, and that's normal. That's gonna happen, especially when you're starting a business, but I like end up double booking myself a lot on accident or over promising my time. So I think I just need to get my habits together. I could get back in better health. I could. I have a list of things, right? But it's like, where do I start? And how do I make sure like the things that are working continue running smoothly while I start new habits. So
Yep.
that's, yeah, I'm always looking for new ways to.
You're changing, like I know there's some pretty big life changes potentially coming up with you, like your environment, your relationship, like those things often for me, like as I've moved settings so much, like those are really awesome times to start new habits. Like if you move into a new apartment or you start a new job or you move to a new place, like those sort of big, like this, once I moved into here, physical health has been a big one for me. It's like part of me of like, I want to be better about working out more consistently. There's a gym like right next door, and I knew that, hey, if I put myself in this position and change my environment, it's gonna be easier for me to like habit stack with working out here. So actually, that was a big reason why I pulled the trigger on this place, because I was like, doing that I know would come with a more efficient health routine. It's weird how and then you can work backward from it. Have I done that yet? No.
You're set up and ready to?
I'm trying to get this place finished so that I can, I try to take on too much at once. So I'm trying to be better about like finishing things and then going to the next thing.
Yeah. So let's talk more about the place a little bit now that we've mentioned it. Tell us more about like your plan for this place, what you've been doing in it. There's been a lot of changes, like even the table we're sitting at was built by these hands, you know?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, just tell everybody what's going on.
Yeah, I'm a huge believer in environment, especially as a creative person, as someone who is, if you're in the business of like ideas or creativity, there's this sense of like space that is so important. I don't think everyone is this way, where they walk into an environment and it impacts them. But I am definitely one of those people where if I'm walking into someone's house or a restaurant or any environment, it's like, damn, why did they put that on the shelf? Or like, why did they hang that up? It impacts me. Like, it kind of feels off. It's almost like if you go into a place and it smells, is what it feels like. It's like, ugh, this is impacting me. And so, it sounds judgmental. I don't really mean it in that way. It's just like, it's really powerful when you can go into a space and it feels very intentionally made for you and the priorities you have and the experience you want. And so with work, I have a huge passion for, honestly, I don't think many people talk about this, but just like work has fundamentally shifted in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years with COVID, that our relationship to how we get work done, where it can be done, the like physical realities of the office versus home. Never in the course of humanity have we ever seen that level of like productivity to space shift. It's still like massively reshaping like society in my view. You go downtown, you go to most like mid-level cities that were built on this like local economy of going to and from physical buildings. It's very weird now. Like office spaces are deserted. People are staying in their homes. And I think there's this really, for the internet economy or the digital economy, where more and more people I think are gonna start to make most of the capital and be productive. There's a huge need for people to have more spaces to work, is the point. And I, as a remote worker, I was remote even before COVID. I had that ability to work remotely. And I see so many people who are working in unideal environments. They are cooped up in coffee shops, they're crammed in Tacoma. They are working at Quarrelsome, rest in peace soon. And people are just desperate, I think, to find a place that feels really comfortable to work. There's no amazing workspaces or co-working brands here that, in my opinion, are up to standard of like creatively what you would want. And so this is essentially the V1 of Lou House, which is, in my mind, what I'd love to build over time, which is like a leading co-working membership club or work-focused club where, you know, we can't fit a lot of people in here. We can probably have a dozen plus who are members, but I want there to be more spaces and places for creatives, entrepreneurial people that you're wanting to have on the show, to have a place where they can go to do their best work, to connect with other people, and have a elevated experience. St. Louis does not have something like that, and I think that there's a huge market need for that. So I've essentially just bootstrapped this as a V1 experiment. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it looks awesome so far. I'll do a little walk around with the camera, but the vibes are definitely coming along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've seen it from the very beginning.
Yes.
I mean, we're currently located in like Central West End area over by Cortex, and this was marketed as a live workspace. There's like the conference room used to be, it's like marketed as a bedroom. This was like, I guess, the main like family room area. So we're trying to make it as effective as possible with the limited space we have, but I think it's turning out pretty cool.
It feels spacious. I could totally see like people just coming in here getting comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, I've heard so many stories about people that just don't have the best working environment. Like someone else who was on the show was talking about, he had a job for the city of St. Louis as an editor, and they just stuck him in like a server room with a little desk. And I'm like, that's your creative guy that you hired, and and then you expect him to make you perfect marketing, and like that's And then I work with a lot of people who get to work from home, and they're all over the country, which is cool. They get to be with their families, or you'll see their kids running behind them in a Zoom call or something. But
that also sucks.
Yeah, it also sucks. and we have friends that like tried that for a while, and they're like, I keep getting knocks on the door because I got to help with the kids, or
it sucks.
Yeah, or it just doesn't feel like work, so I'm sitting in my kitchen island taking a Zoom call.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That deserves to be said, and I'll like just be that guy who puts that stake in the ground, but like there are so many men who are stuck in their house who need to get out. And like the huge reason I wanted to be here was not because I hate my family or I want to get away from my wife. That's not it. What I wanted was to not have my son walk into my office and see me on my computer all day, sitting on my ass, like typing away. Like I don't want my kid to think of work and my work in that way. I think we're like I never saw that with my dad. My dad was out of the house. He was like doing productive things. And I think that there are a lot of men sitting on their butts, hunched over a computer all day. And I think the impact that's gonna have on their kids is bigger than we realize. And how can I expect my son eventually to not be on his device or on his phone or whatever when he saw me the entire time growing up working on my device? And so there's definitely an element of that, of like, I need separation, not just from a visibility sense, but practically, like I need that space to create, because when my wife's knocking on the door or my son's like drooling and licking the glass in my office, like I'm not doing my best work. And the last thing is you isolate yourself, and as a creative, relationships are everything. Like the isolation that editor for the city is having is so sad, because what is one of the most impactful things about being in a creative entrepreneurial context is the relationships and the orbit you keep with those relationships. And you think about the most successful entrepreneurs, business owners right now who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they're probably, the clients they have, the partners they have, the associates they have were probably built along the way. They and like formed and trusted and like developed along the way. You know, imagine they're showing up to an office and they bump elbows with 50 people every day. Like that web of trust and network builds over time. Compare that to someone who wakes up every day, doesn't talk to a human being in person, you're gonna be at a huge disadvantage. So for this space, we want it to be definitely like a curated group of people, to have that group of people all be aligned and lean in. And I'm pretty early in that. Like I haven't really formed a list of people that I want in here or like what that means, but I want it to be a group that's naturally sort of synergistic with each other. But more than that, I want there to be a cadence of events that we have here for anyone. Like let's have like an audio focused or creative focused showcase, or like have a workshop, or Like we were just talking before we hit record, like what if we could use this as like a blank space for people who want to start a podcast to come in, and like I just want to create more elbows being bumped creatively in the city, especially because there's such a void of that. There's no spaces that are doing that well.
Yeah, I worked for a company briefly a few years ago that worked in a like their office was in a co-working space.
Yep.
It wasn't.
Where was that? Which one?
We were at the one in Clayton.
The one like up in that building?
Yes.
I toured that one.
Kind of stale.
It's very corporate. It's just very corporate.
Very corporate.
I know what that is. But yes,
I hate to hate. It was good people we met in there, but yeah, it wasn't the right place for a creative company to be.
I had the exact same experience.
But we were in there for like a month or two. That's where Izzy and I met. She was a graphic designer there.
Really?
And I was.
So you can't hate that much.
No, yeah.
You met the love of your life.
I can't hate it. Yes, I did. I did. It's
Bumping
great
elbows.
place.
We were trying to like match make right now.
Yes, we. That's pretty much what happened. I came in, match made, and then the company went down. And
was it like a financial company? I feel like they're all just banks.
It was a like marketing company. So like websites and stuff like that.
But there's a sense of going to a place and being around an ecosystem of people that are aligned, and like those community co-working spaces are really cool for that.
Yes, and that one was just a good example of what it shouldn't be. And it's like they tried to do that, but I didn't feel like I talked to many people that also worked there. Everybody was isolated, and like, yeah, I think you said there should be synergy with the people that come here. Yeah, like get a community of people that like can agree on things and have an event and connect, because word of mouth is not dead. I'm learning, like when we meet someone in person and when we're talking to people, like that locks in lifelong relationships, like you said. Like that's not going anywhere. So while we're able to do more on our own and build your own space to work, and you can work from your bed if you want to, that's not going to work forever. And you have to separate home life from work life if you want to do it.
Or just have a hybrid. Like
hybrid, yeah.
I don't want this to be a place where people like work 9 to 5 every day. I want this to be a resource where it's like, hey, I got to get out of my house right now and I need to take a meeting, and just like add some breaks in your day where you're just like, oh man, I want to break things up. Like come work here for a morning, pop in for a call, like take a meeting at this table. And I want it to be that sort of flexible thing. Like this is not a new idea. Like there are tons of companies in other cities that are doing this really well. And Chattanooga that season what really showed me that. I lived across the street from a venture capital incubator where they flew in founders. It's called Brickyard. It's amazing. I'd love to do something like that here one day, where they had about a dozen or so founding teams come in. Every day they'd work out of this incubator, outfitted with like a sauna and a gym and a steam room and incredible co-working. I mean, exactly what we're talking about. Perfect environment. And I lived right across the street from that. That's sort of another story of why I actually moved there for that reason. But that was a really awesome environment. I could just pop in, pop out, and like break up my day. That was so powerful to the way that I was able to work and connect with others and pursue my relationship with my wife. It was really great. I think we're living in this era where like work and life are not that separate anymore. And it's like actually really, really needed to have the ability to finish a call, close your laptop, walk down a flight of stairs, and have a dinner with your wife. Like that's like a really cool thing. There needs to be more spaces where you can do that. I'd love to one day, I know I'm kind of manifesting this, but I'd love to open something like that one day, built for parents, where parents can come and like drop their kids off, and like this, like ideally for parents who are like kids who are 2 to 4 to 5, like that kind of tough, they're not in school yet. It's helpful to have them in a place where they can be, to have a daycare essentially where you can go, drop them off, everything's great, 2nd floor, co-working, 3rd floor, gym, like have this like ecosystem. And you'd have to have memberships there because you'd want to make sure everyone's like qualified and buttoned up. But I mean, that would be amazing for me. It's like, hey honey, I got the kids, I'm gonna go to this place, and I'll like drop Roman and Josie off. They'll have fun half the day, and then my wife will pick them up. Like, you've seen the Play Cafe. come into Kirkwood, right?
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I heard about it.
Stuff like that's cool, where like working moms can pop in, their kids can have fun, they can take meetings. Things like that are going to become more popular.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's a super cool idea. I like that idea.
Yeah.
So with yours, as you build up yours, have you thought about like content creation and how that affects this and what you may or may not need to do? Because here's the thing, we're trying to hone into audio, right? We don't want to be video people. Like no. Okay, we on video. You got it.
People suck.
No. I like video. I'm not a cinematographer, right? We want to work on big film sets, do cool things. If I've got a camera in my hand, it's because I want to do our own marketing or our own channel or something that I'm like passionate about, right? Like I'm not just going to get hired as the video guy for the thing, like the coffee shop down the street. We're trying to stick
It's an
audio.
instrument you don't want to play.
Not professionally. It's just, if I find a project that I'm passionate about personally, I'll have a camera in my hand for it. So with you are one of those people to me where I'm like, I will grab the camera out for you. You know what I mean? And that's, yeah. Because I've really tried to put it away. And it's like, I totally see a space where like, do you know Peter McKinnon? Have I talked about him, or you might know who he is? I totally see, and this is, now I'm just giving him an idea he might shoot down, that's fine. But I totally see like a very cool vlog type thing happening, because even just your Instagram pictures as you're building this place up was like, oh, what's he working on? What's he doing?
Yeah,
And-
for this business concept.
Yes, just and your journey as you go on with all your big ideas and stuff. I totally see you. I know it's a whole thing being the self-vlogger and all that, but have you ever considered that type of marketing for yourself?
Absolutely. It's super top of mind right now. In my view, everyone, like the personal brand is something that like we've talked about for a few years. It's something that people know, like, oh, personal brand, build your personal brand. That is one of the most underutilized lead funnels for any business. And Peter McKinnon is a great example, because Peter McKinnon, what essentially is he? He's a photographer. He's a media person. And so what did he do? He created a personal brand around that, where he became this like expert photographer, like camera reviewer, how to edit, how to do all these things. He made that into his brand. And I mean, last time I heard, he's been doing this for years, like a long time. He's like massive brands, tier 1 companies paying him all this money to review their stuff and go on shoots. And he lives a lifestyle that is probably the top 1% of photographers. That's all because of his personal brand. Yeah. So I think, I mean, for the business that I have on the consulting and go-to-market side of Stable Studios, is like, that's actually a core offering that we now have for our clients. So people who are in our industry, in the world of payments, stablecoins, blockchains, all these companies, just on this point, all these companies are getting written pretty large checks by these venture capitalists to go and build these businesses. It's very simple. You have a founder and typically a team of like a dozen other people who are building these very technical products. And they're trying to sell these technical products, these software APIs to their customer base. And what we're seeing as a massive trend happening is the personal brand becoming a huge driver for the success of even that type of company. Where like, I think the last 5 years, you've seen that social media sort of creative focus where the Peter McKinnons of the world or the Casey Neistats of the world can like do that well. But we're now seeing that trend become almost, it hasn't hit escape velocity, but like founders of companies now are almost expected to have a personal brand, to your question, because if you can do it really well, it can become an amazing revenue generator for the business, to a point where that can become actually the main focus of your time. So what we're doing now is actually for our company is we're doing that as a service, like done for you, founder-led content. So you pay us a retainer per month, and then we'll completely set up a content strategy for you, your brand, your voice, your LinkedIn page, the blog you can create, the newsletter you can manage, like the infrastructure for that. I have not thought about that for Lou House yet, personally. I probably should take my own advice, but I would be curious in your perspective what you think that could look like, because I kind of have the LinkedIn approach of my brand, which is definitely focused on like stable studios and crypto and like my network there. But Instagram is interesting because it's way more personal. And I sometimes think like Instagram strategy could be St. Louis and Lou House and like what we're doing here. And then LinkedIn could be, you know, stable studios, and the sort of separation seems logical. I'd love to, you know, lean into that. People love it's crazy. I just post these random videos of me building things and staining stuff. And
Yeah.
people love to be a part of the process. It's really fun. And I love it too. It's fun to welcome people into that.
It's like 80% the people, like the personality. It's like, I like Peter McKinnon because I do photography as well, but I'll find myself clicking on it just because he's fun to watch. I don't care what he's talking about, or any content creator that I really like for that reason. So I don't know what the answer is, but I know like I could totally see you doing something with it as you.
I think that's a huge, if there's like a young, hungry videographer, someone who can kind of do it end to end, like what I would love is just to have, the hard part as a founder is having the habit of it built, because it takes a lot of time. I actually, on my LinkedIn, I posted a couple of these videos early on of like, sort of like founder lifestyle feeling things. I came out with a couple videos for me like journaling, and it was more of like what you're talking about, and I couldn't manage it from a time load standpoint. It takes a ton of time to shoot, edit, concept, and like post those things. And so for me, I would totally pay someone a monthly retainer to come and like weekly, and this is sort of what we do for the founders on the stable studio side, where we just say, hey, once a month we're gonna have a meeting with you. You're gonna dump all this stuff. What are you thinking about? What are you chewing on? Pipe that into an AI, and then that you know, AI process that we built is gonna come out with like all of these different concepts and ideas and things that we could do for them. And I would love to be the customer of that.
Isn't that the funny like food chain where it's like, even that's a thing I've noticed with a lot of like marketing companies in general. It's like they're doing such a great job for other people.
Yes.
It's like we need someone to do ours because we're so busy like helping build other people's stuff.
I mean, this podcast for you guys, it makes so much sense, because you need to show, not tell. That's how you sell now. You need to show that you can do it, not say that you can do it. And you guys producing this show is that. It's like, oh wow, love the show. Audio's crispy. These guys have what it takes. Obviously they can do this work for us on the audio side of whatever, and we'll pay them whatever, because this podcast is the proof point that you have what it takes, and that we live in this really interesting time where buyers and people that you're trying to sell over the internet, you actually can get them like 70 or 80% of the way there without ever talking to them. It's been really interesting on the Stable Studios business of ours, where we have a podcast as well called Stable Minded, and we just interview, you know, again, our businesses like go-to-market consulting, revenue operations for that part of the industry, like stable coins, crypto, blockchain. It's very niche. So we've come out with a podcast just on that niche, and it's been crazy. Like people will reach out to me 80% convinced they want to work with me, and I've never talked to them. And then we hop on a call and they're just like 20% needs to be talked about, but we have already gotten them 80% of the way there. That is a really powerful thing that content can do for a business. It's like, how can you get your ideal customers to consume content, whether that's through a podcast, a video series, founder-led Instagram stuff, doesn't matter what it is. Just get it out there and make it valuable to that person, whatever that means. And it's crazy, like how much easier the sale or like the transaction will then become.
Yes, for what I've figured out is there's my things that are my favorite. Like I enjoy this podcast or this show we're doing. I maybe have my favorite project that we've done that I put at the top of our website. But I've kind of learned to be willing to pivot, and as long as everything that someone can see about Gaussian Sound Co. hits a certain level of quality, I'm happy. I don't care, like if PJ's like, maybe we should put this one at the top. I'm not gonna get, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna lose sleep over, because I know that everything we have that has our name on it is okayed by us. And that's what you're talking about, is I want, anytime someone sees us in any capacity, they know they're getting the certain quality, and like they're making their own decisions, hopefully 80% of the way, before they email us and say, what gear do you have, or what can you do for us?
Yep.
So yeah, we're learning that, like how important that.
I mean, think about
for what we do.
I wasn't in this position of like meeting Julia over apps or on social media before I met her. Like I actually met her in person. But imagine now romantically what is happening. Like people will, like it would be ridiculous to go on a date with someone and not even think about looking at their Instagram. Or like hiring someone without even looking at their LinkedIn. It's like, of course you would. Why wouldn't you? Like that's context. And you can probably find red flags or green flags within that. It's like, oh yeah, this girl is like, she seems like my vibe, or like, you know, I like her, whatever. And, or like LinkedIn, it's like, oh, this person has 29 followers. Like they definitely probably, they don't have a network built. Like it's something that is insightful. You want to do the same thing. Like we live in an economy where that's just common in all areas. Businesses need to be doing the same thing. Like you need to have, if you're like, you know, trying to find a mate, your Instagram needs to be nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, if you're a business, you're trying to make money. Just like have the same approach.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, could you imagine like hearing about a friend that's like just went on a blind date in 2025?
No, you never do that. It's like, I'm never gonna hop on like a discovery call with a business I know nothing about. Like that would be not worth your time.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who can hold microphones in their hand. We know that. So
Yes.
it's like, we know that they need to see us doing it in a good light before they would consider us. They're not just gonna.
And that's a really great opportunity for you to prove your value before, like it's just a better, it makes everything better. The buyer feels more trustworthy. You have an opportunity to show, not tell. The convincing period is shorter, so you're not like spending months and months convincing people. It's like, hey, what do you think of this? Does this quality meet your standard? Here's what we charge. Does that work for you? Yes or no? Why not? Great, boom. Like it doesn't have to be what I think used to have happen, where it's like sales cycles for things like this would take a long time. So
Yeah.
it's cool you guys are doing this.
Yeah. Thanks for being on the show. We really appreciate it. We've got a lot of fun people lined up, but we're probably going to come back and do some more Drew, definitely here in the space. We're going to probably start to expand this a little bit. We want to like play games with people, and it's just fun. I don't know. I think it's fun to have a YouTube channel. So I've always wanted to. So thanks for being on, and for being a part of the beginning of our business. Drew's been super easy to work with. We've done some projects with him. So keep an eye out for what he's working on. We'll link some stuff down below if you want to learn more about what he does and what's coming up next with Lou House and everything. Picture you have a huge project in front of you. Maybe it's for a client, maybe it's a passion project. Either way, you need to get it right down to the finest details. How are you going to get that done? Call us at Gaussian Sound Co. We do everything from cleanup jobs to location sound to editing and post for custom sound design and custom scores. We've worked on plenty of video games, films, YouTube episodes, social media, commercials, you name it. Anything you need, we're your guys. We just want to work on cool new projects with people that we can meet online, not just in person. So our email and our website links are down below. If you want to give us a call, go ahead and do it. Let's get a coffee, talk about your next project.